Well, hello there. In this video, I'll compare the 3 casters in 14 to give you an understanding of their playstyle in order to help you pick one that you enjoy. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my personal recommendations. Technically, there are 4 casters, those being Black Mage, Summoner, Red Mage and Blue Mage. But Blue Mage is a so-called limited job that plays and levels very differently from the rest. Out of the 3 jobs we're going to discuss, only Summoner and Black Mage can be unlocked immediately on a new character, with their starting classes being Arcanist and Thaumaturge respectively. Red Mage can be unlocked by having any other job at level 50, and only if you have the Stormblood expansion. Looking at statistics on the jobs, we can get an idea of the difficulty level of each job by comparing the difference between the lowest and highest performing players. We can see that Black Mage appears to be the most difficult, and Summoner the least difficult according to this. In my personal opinion, Summoner is one of the easiest jobs in the game, while Black Mage is not just the most difficult caster, but the most difficult job in the entire game. We'll get into the reasons for this in just a little bit. Using more stats, we can find out how popular the jobs are in high-end content. Looking at passes uploaded for the current rate here, we can see that Summoner is by far the most popular job, and actually the most popular DPS in general. This is followed by Red Mage, and lastly Black Mage, which sits at roughly half the player numbers of Summoner. Player numbers are often closely tied to difficulty, as many players prefer to play a job that doesn't overwhelm them when playing through difficult content. So this doesn't necessarily reflect how well designed or fun a job is. Let's take a look at each one of the jobs and their abilities, starting with Summoner. This job is what I have done the most raiding on in the last few months. It got an extensive rework with the last expansion, which had very mixed reception. Summoner starts the game as the Arcanist class, which can also turn into the Healer Scholar. This means that you can level a Summoner and a Scholar at the same time, should you choose to start as an Arcanist. Summoners wield a book as their main weapon, and their playstyle revolves around an easy to follow rotation that cycles through various summon creatures. You can think of each summon as unlocking new abilities on your hotbar that you want to use before moving on. The rotation is straightforward once you understand what abilities the buttons on your hotbar change into, and everything aligns perfectly with party buff windows and even certain raid mechanics. During the rotation, summoners cycle through the 2 demi-summons, Bahamut and Phoenix. Both summons allow the caster temporary access to new abilities, which must be used before the timer runs out. After that, players get access to the smaller Arcanum summons, those being Ifrit, Titan and Garuda. Each one of these summons unlocks different abilities, much like Bahamut and Phoenix did, except they are not on a timer. The summoner can freely choose between the summons depending on movement requirements, and is supposed to use each one of them, including their abilities, before the next demi-summon 1 minute later. Titan unlocks an easy 1-2 combo with no hard casts that you need to stand still for. Garuda has 5 casts with a shortened recast time and 1 long cast that deals area of effect damage. And Ifrit has 2 hard casts as well as a dash followed by the summoner slapping the enemy with their book. All of this can be a little confusing at first because these abilities only appear on your hotbar after using the respective summon. Once this is understood, however, it's mechanically really simple to execute and easy to keep track of. Summoner has the fewest hard casts out of any caster, allowing plenty of movement to dodge mechanics. One of the major reasons to bring casters in a party is their utility. Summoners have the ability Resurrection, which allows them to revive a dead party member. This can help healers maintain their MP balance and also provides an additional safety net for the party. Another side of Summoner's utility is often overlooked by experienced players, which is their healing power. Using the demi-summon Phoenix grants surrounding players a party-wide healing effect, as well as a single target heal. This is a standout benefit of Summoner, making it the highest healing DPS job in the game with little to no effort. This can be helpful in all kinds of content from solo to raiding. In addition to all of this, the job also has access to a party-wide damage buff called Searing Light. This can be used every 2 minutes and should ideally align with the summoner's highest damage phase of the rotation, the Demi-Bahamut summon. Next up is Red Mage. This job is one of the most unique I have played for a while, and it was a ton of fun to learn. As a Red Mage, thematically you're balancing black and white magic, both of which have their own respective jobs in the game, Black and White Mage. The weapon of choice for Red Mage is a rapier, which is used as both a melee weapon and held as kind of a staff imitation during casting. The job's gameplay revolves around balancing black and white mana on the balance gauge by using spells of the respective kind. By using said spells, you accumulate each resource before getting to spend it on a hard-hitting melee finisher combo. Balancing black and white mana carefully is important when playing Red Mage, because if either one becomes far more dominant, the other one will accumulate much slower, which will result in a damage loss. That means that the job has to pay more attention to resource management than Summoner, which adds another level of complexity. Another unique aspect of Red Mage is the trait called Dual Cast. This effect reads, grants the effect of Dual Cast upon casting any spell with a cast time, while under the effect of Dual Cast, your next spell will require no time to cast. To play Red Mage optimally, you will want to use a short cast to get the Dual Cast proc, followed by a long cast to instantly cast it instead. This gives Red Mage a very unique feeling of a 1-2 punch mage. It also means that Red Mage has a high amount of movement available, because they have 2.5 seconds of movement after each full cast. Once the Red Mage has accumulated enough black and white magic, they're able to spend it on a 3-hit melee combo, which is followed by 3 instant casts at the highest level. There's plenty of wiggle room in when the Red Mage decides to use this, which allows him to use it to avoid downtime during movement-heavy mechanics. Additionally, with a little bit of practice, it is possible to fit 1.5 melee finisher combos into a buff window, allowing more advanced players to set themselves apart, which is something Summoner can lack. This comes with added difficulties, however, as not all of Red Mage's spells align as neatly as those of Summoner, leading to each 2-minute window being slightly different and requiring more focus on the resources and cooldowns in order to maximize the job's damage potential. Where Summoner's rotation falls in place quite naturally, Red Mage requires a bit of work to keep everything aligned. The job has plenty of utility that every party would want. First of all, Red Mage lacks the built-in healing that Summoner has in its natural rotation, but it does have the ability Cure, which is a single target heal that can be used to save yourself or others in clutch situations. While using it to heal yourself is mostly frowned upon, because healers can do so far more efficiently, it can be useful in attempts to salvage a run. Like Summoner, the job also has access to a resurrection ability. Red Mage has an easier time resurrecting players, however, as they can make use of the trait Dual Cast to cast repeated instant resurrections. This leads to Red Mage being able to revive players much more quickly and efficiently than any other job, including healers. Because of this, Red Mage is often jokingly referred to as Res Mage. Like Summoner, Red Mage has access to a party-wide damage buff called Embolden, which should be used on cooldown to improve the party's damage. Lastly, Red Mage has access to the ability Magic Barrier, which is a party-wide damage mitigation ability that also applies a healing buff. This can be useful to minimize the impact of party-wide damage, and is just another reason to bring a Red Mage over a Summoner, which only has a unique personal damage mitigation tool. As the last job, we're going to cover Black Mage. This is what the game director Naoki Yoshida himself plays, and it's also, as I've stated a few minutes ago, the hardest job in the game. It is in fact by many considered so difficult that even if you didn't watch this video, in some way through word of mouth, you would probably know of the job's reputation. Black Mage uses a staff as a weapon, and unlike Summoner and Red Mage, offers only pure destructive magic with no unique party utility at all. This is offset by the fact that it has some of the highest personal damage potential in the game. Black Mage cycles through 2 states called Astral Fire and Umbral Ice by using abilities of the respective kind, either fire or ice. Each state lasts 15 seconds, but can be extended as required. During Astral Fire, the damage of various fire abilities is increased. This is when Black Mage deals most of its damage and expends all of its MP. During Umbral Ice, on the other hand, Black Mage rapidly regenerates MP. This leads to a playstyle where playing the job optimally requires jumping between Astral Fire and Umbral Ice. In comparison to Summoner and Red Mage, Black Mage only has a few instant cast opportunities, which must be planned around more carefully in order not to be caught with your pants down during movement mechanics. Having long cast times means Black Mage would love to stand still permanently if the mechanics permitted, but they're rarely ever able to do so. This problem is aggravated by the job's personal damage buff called Ley Lines. This creates a small circle inside which the Black Mage gains substantial spellcast and recast time reduction. This field is immovable, and as such the Black Mage needs to plan the time of its use and the placement very carefully, or risk being forced to move outside of it at a big damage loss. These factors all make Black Mage fairly reliant on good positioning and knowledge of mechanics in order to plan the encounter out for dealing optimal damage. The The job is however not permanently rooted in place, even during optimal play. Using abilities such as triple cast, which allows the instant casting of 3 abilities in a row, the roll action swift cast, as well as procs such as the instant cast ability Xenoglossy, allows Black Mage to move around way more than in previous expansions. In addition to this, Black Mage has access to one of the strongest movement abilities in the game, in the form of ethereal manipulation. This allows him to move to the location of any party member on a short 10-second cooldown, as well as between the lines, which allows him to return to the currently active ley lines. At its core, the standard rotation is fairly simple to execute once understood. The true difficulty of the job lies in manipulating the rotation to the movement requirements of the fight, as well as positioning. As someone that has played every job in the game, no job demanded me to improvise which buttons I pressed as much as Black Mage. The amount of optimization that can be done at a high level is staggering. However, the base level of Black Mage is actually quite accessible. Beginner players shouldn't worry too much about playing optimally beyond the current expansion Extreme or Savage content, because there are no serious damage checks to be found anywhere. And while the job is exceptionally hard to optimize, this is of no concern to anyone while leveling. Black Mage performs perfectly fine inside most content when simply following the standard rotation, while always inviting the player to go the extra mile to deal more damage. This open-endedness to skill expression is something that a lot of players will find intriguing, and it's actually a sign of really good design. It's a very slow start, but once abilities like Xenoglossy, Triple Cast and Amplifier are added into the mix, Black Mage starts to shine, in my opinion, as one of the most well-designed and fun jobs in the game. With some broad knowledge of all the casters, we're now going to move into the last part of this video, which is a small summary of the jobs and who I recommend them to. Summoner is amazing as a beginner job, not just as your first caster, but as your first job in the entire game. Its mechanically simple rotation allows summoners to get to grips with fight mechanics without worrying too much about the rotation. Red Mage is a caster with a unique design in comparison to the casters we are used to from other games. It's slightly more difficult than Summoner and offers some additional optimization options while providing similar utility with a focus on reviving party members. Red Mage is a very common choice for experienced players when learning new fights for this reason. It is more flexible than Summoner and probably the better choice in raid proc environments. Black Mage is a job for anyone looking for a challenge. It offers more skill expression opportunities than any other job in the game. However, the base level of the job isn't impossible for beginner players to get to grips with, and because of that, you shouldn't feel intimidated to give the job a try if you like the theme, but be prepared for a challenge and a slow start. You should also be prepared for other players to be a bit skeptical of you due to the reputation of Black Mage and it being a completely selfish job. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like and perhaps check out the other videos in this series. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.